Hello everybody, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast. It's a little bit different today, but hopefully something you'll find interesting. We are going to be highlighting every single League One club's worst player so far this season based on the stats. Now, I highlight the word stats because this is purely based on those statistics, okay? You watch your team every single week. You watch these players week in, week out. I don't. This is all I've got to base it on. So I want to hear it from you in the comments down below. Have the stats got this right? Have the stats got this wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. And if this isn't your worst player, let me know who is in the comments down below. If it is, then that's great. But also let me know that down in the comments down below. Why is that? What is going wrong for this player? Let me know in the comments down below. The interaction's been brilliant. It's why I love this podcast. So let me know down below. I'll be replying and responding to all of your thoughts as well. So posing different questions here. Are the stats misleading? Have they got this completely wrong? Or maybe they are right? We'll have to wait and see. And that's why, like I said, I need your help. If you haven't watched this podcast before, listened to this podcast before, please be part of the journey. We're on the long road to 1,000 subscribers. We're getting closer by the day. So we need to get to 800 first. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's the red button down below. Hit that. Also hit that notification bell as well. That way you'll never be miss an episode of the podcast. You'll be notified every time we go live or do a recorded episode just like this one. Drop a like as well if you enjoy the content. But again, I'll let you watch it first. You can decide whether or not you think it's worthy of a like or a subscription. Let's not mess about. Let's get straight into it. We're going to start off with Crewe. So here on the screen right now, we've got Callum Ainley. That is who the stats have highlighted to be Crewe's worst player. I'm looking at, he's a midfielder. He's also playing on the right of midfield as well. You can see sort of where he is on that sort of season heat map, where he's across the pitch. You can see he is in that sort of attacking third. He's more in that attacking third, more edging actually toward the left, interestingly. But I think he's probably playing in the centre of midfield because it's quite evenly spread across the field. 19 games. I must also say as well, there's a criteria to this. So they have to have played over 10 games, and that includes sub appearances as well. Again, this is based on SofaScore statistics as well. I do have to sort of mention that because some stats are a little bit different. This is SofaScore. This is a website I use for a lot of my content. And yeah, like I said, agree or disagree in the comments down below based on SofaScore stats. So you can see here, down, this is the sort of his ratings as the games and as Crewe have played their games. You can see they're fairly average. You want to be sort of hitting the 7. A 7 is a good mark. 7, below 7, around 6 is sort of average, fairly poor, I'd say. That's probably the best way of putting it. But like I said, he's a midfielder with one big chance created. He hasn't got a goal. He hasn't got an assist. Like I said, I mean, he's averaging 62 minutes a game. So he's averaging an hour a game. He's got 19 appearances, 13 starts, not a single assist, not a single goal. And like I said, he one big chance created. He hasn't even got one key pass per game either. That's at 0.8. See, defensively, I wouldn't say he's a specialist in that area as well, but you can see that they're fairly poor. 0.2 interceptions per game, 0.5 tackles per game as well, 0.4 possession one back. His dribbles per game is very, very poor, almost no dribbles per game at 0.1. Successful dribbles, 53%. Total duels won, only 41%. For a midfielder in that area, you want to be winning those duels. 41% total duels. That's less than half of his total duels won in the midfield area. It's poor. Really, really quite poor. And you can see why statistically he's been highlighted as a player that has not been doing enough this season. You can see his weaknesses this season. Aerial duels, I mean, we can see pretty much across all the duels that seems to be a problem. They've also highlighted long balls there as well. Not a great season for Callum Ainley. For Crewe, though, I probably could have picked a few different players. So they haven't had the best of seasons, but Callum Ainley is the player that Crewe have had to highlight as their worst player so far this season. So at Doncaster, I've gone with Kieran Agave. Now, a little bit harsh because he hasn't been at Doncaster for the whole of the campaign. He spent the first half of the season at Plymouth. So, yeah, a little bit harsh, but still someone who really has not set League One alight. And although, I mean, he hasn't been at Doncaster for the full season, he still hasn't had a great League One campaign. So someone I really do feel should be highlighted and needs to be highlighted as someone that really hasn't had the best of seasons. He's a striker, 32 years of age. He has been at Doncaster now for a few games. I mean, pretty much, you can see here that the last game for Plymouth was the 26th of December. He obviously moved in January. So he spent the whole of January, and we're now at the 20th of February at Doncaster. Hasn't been brilliant. Yet to score a goal for Doncaster, which is a real concern. You can see his average rating since he joined Doncaster here. His first game was against Wigan. Since then, sub-appearances. And then when he has played, some pretty poor average ratings across the park. Like I said, he's got one goal this season. That was for Plymouth. 17 games he's played. 6 of them start. So maybe, yes, it's a little bit harsh. 35 average minutes. But still, 35 minutes a game. On average, with 6 starts as well there as well, you'd hope that he'd get a goal. He has got 1 goal, but that is it. 0 assists as well. You can see there, the reason I've highlighted as well, 3 big chances missed as well. So he could have 4 goals. He's missed 3 big chances. They're going to be crucial goals. If they're for Doncaster, they're going to be even more crucial, because you can see there, that season heat map says quite a lot about his time at Doncaster. A lot of the time in that centre circle, ready for kickoff. We can see here, no big chances created as well. Are we going to judge it off big chances created for a centre forward? Maybe a little bit harsh. We'd hope he'd sort of create something up there. Like I said, those 3 big chances with only 1 goal is where the real concern is. He's averaging 0.1 goals per game, 0.6 shots per game as well. So he's not even averaging a single shot every single game. For a striker, you're hoping he's going to get at least 1 shot off per game. That's just not happening. 0.2 shots on target per game as well. You can see that's quite low, because he's not even getting 1 shot a game on average anyway, let alone on targets. You can see why that is quite low. We look at those other stats as well. Successful dribbles, 50%, 30 duels won as well. I mean, we look at that more for a defender, we do, but I think it's quite important as well. A striker, someone holding up the play, someone trying to win those headers, or win anything really. Total duels, that count as ground duels, aerial duels as well. You can see a 30% total duels, went to 70% of his duels, whether that's in the air, trying to hold up the ball, maybe on the floor, holding up the ball as well. Either way, 70% of those times, he's not winning those duels. There's a real concern there. Average rating of 6.59. Doncaster, Kieran Agave's the player I've gone with there. Little bit of a concern for him. So for Gillingham, I've gone with Stuart O'Keefe. Little bit controversial. We'll come into it in just a second. 26 games played, 24 of them starts. Going forward, he's got a goal, but it's his midfield stats. It's the midfield stats that are really, really quite concerning. You can see where he played against Morecambe. He was the worst player on the pitch due to average ratings. But you can see they're playing in the midfield of a 4 and so the middle of the park for Gillingham. Quite a crucial role in a side that needs to be going forward and helping their team out, because, like I said, they are struggling. We are going in league table order. You can see there, his passing stats, his midfield stats are not great at all. 0 assists, 0 big chances created, 0.4 key passes per game. The creativity, again, he's not a specialist in creativity, I wouldn't say. You can see there this season, a midfielder. And like I said, it's a flat 4 of a midfield for Gillingham. He's playing in the heart of that midfield. No big chances created, not a single assist this season. You can see why there is a real concern there. I want to also look at the pass accuracy. In his own half, it's okay. As soon as he gets into that opposition half, 63%. That's not great. 63% of the time he's passing in his opposition half, it's working. That's a big chunk of the time. It's really, really not. Defensive stats, they are slightly better. You can see him playing a little bit more of a defensive midfielder. He is more of that player. 0.5 interceptions per game, 1.7 tackles per game. It's okay. Possession 1 back, 0.3. Slight concern there. Dribbles per game, 0.5. Like I said, not a specialist in dribbling, but again, that's not a great stat to have. 1.1 clearances per game. It's average. Other stats here, this is the concern. 44% total duels won in a midfield, in a part of the pitch which is so crucial you're winning your battles, especially as a defensive midfielder, as we found out here. 44% of the time, his total duels are not being won. There's a concern there, a real concern. 28% of the time, his aerial duels are being won. A big chunk of the time, he's losing his aerial battles. Ground duels, 49%, so it's pretty much 50-50. He might win a ground duel, he might not. That's a bit of a concern for a midfielder. All in all, Stuart O'Keefe is the man I've highlighted as Gillingham's worst player statistically so far this season. So then for Morecambe, I've gone with Wesley Mcdonald, now 24-year-old player who's played 17 games this season, 9 of which have been starts, not averaging the biggest amount of time on the field, about 48 minutes per game. You can see those 6.61 average rating, very, very average season for this man. You can see his positions, he plays a left winger as well as a left midfielder, so he's sort of specialising on that left-hand side. A mixture of sub-appearances, bench appearances. When he has played, he's been very, very sort of average, other than when he played Buxton FC in the FA Cup. Don't think we can count that too much. I'm looking at those League One games more than anything. Very, very average. It's a poor one, actually, in the Football League Trophy. But like I said, we won't be focusing on too much of that. It's purely on League One. A lot of League One games here. Very, very average. He hasn't had a great start to this season. And we are now into the business end, about 30 games into it. So I say start, 30 games in. It's not been a season to remember for Wesley Mcdonald of Morecambe. Like I said, though, we've looked at those stats. 17 total games played, 9 of which have been starts. No goals. That's the first thing to look at. A midfielder who can see his average. He's in that area. He's definitely in the more offensive area. He's definitely more in that attacking part of the field for Morecambe. He is in a defensive area. No goals at all. He's missed 1 big chance as well, so he could have a goal in there. 1 assist. It's okay. 1 big chance created. It's okay. Again, it's not brilliant. You expect him to be creating more big chances than that, especially, like I said, we look at that heat map. He's in the attacking third more than he is in defensive third. He's playing on that left-hand side. He's definitely playing as a winger. You can see he's playing in that attacking area. He's not playing as a left back or right back, or because sometimes when they say midfield left, that can also mean sort of wing back, if you like. He's playing in definitely a more attacking position. So one assist, one big chance created, no goals. 1 goal contribution in 17 appearances, 9 starts. That's a bit of concern. There is a real bit of concern there. 0.6 key passes per game. Like I said, it's not brilliant. Let's look at these. We've got to look at these dribbles. 31% dribbles, 31% total duels won, 34% ground duels won. He has actually had an aerial duel across the game at all. We can see here a summary over the last 12 months. He's made 17 appearances so far in League One, 6.61 his average rating. Poor in League Two last season, 6.41. You can see there his best competition has been the FA Cup, where he's averaging 7.40. You can see there last 12 months, but this season so far, you can see across the competitions, he's been really, really quite poor. We look at those successful dribbles for, like I said, a player in the winger area, in the player that's playing on the wing, if you like. I'm definitely trying to create chances of your opposition in that area. 31% successful dribbles. Bit of concern there. Like I said, dribbles are quite difficult to come by as a winger because there are a lot of them, so the average does sort of go down. The percentage does definitely decrease. But you want to be looking at the 50-60 mark, not 31%. That's really, really quite poor. So Wesley Mcdonald is the player that statistically has been the worst player so far this season for Morecambe. So for AFC, I've gone with Mcguane. Now, I might have to take some sort of responsibility for this one, as I highlighted him to be a player to watch out for at the start of the season. Hasn't quite gone the way that I predicted and we'd hoped for AFC Wimbledon's left winger. Now, he's on loan from Watford. He joined at the start of the season. His average rating there is 6.54. It's poor. It's not great at all. You see here a lot of bench appearances as well. A few starts here and there. He did start the season playing a few, but then bench appearances. So he's sort of like making some appearances. 40 minutes he's averaging per game, 16 total games played, 17 starts. Like I said, when he has played, he's been really quite average to poor. 16 total games played, 7 starts, 2 goals in there, which isn't bad at all. And sort of as we climb higher up the league table, the worst players don't actually have the worst set of stats, or definitely not compared to the ones at the bottom. Not great though. I mean, it's not outstanding. You'd hope he'd get a few more goals than that, but two's better than none, and better than 1. Assist-wise, he's got no assists. And like I said, for a player playing on the left-hand side as a left winger prominently, you can see his heat map here, definitely playing more that left-hand side of the field. 0 assists, 0 big chances created. Not great. Not great at all. Not really helping the team out in terms of creativity. Defensively, we can sort of completely ignore that. We're not going to be looking at them. 35% successful dribbles. Little bit of a concern there as well. Like I said, for a winger, you'd hope those successful dribbles would be slightly better than that. Beating your man, creating chances. We know the creativity hasn't been good enough for this AFC Wimbledon player on loan from Watford. Hasn't been a great season. I might have jinxed it. Hopefully, you forgive me, Mcguane and AFC Wimbledon fans. It hasn't been a loan deal to sort of write home about. And when he has played, like I said, he hasn't been great at all. A mix between sub appearances and appearances off the bench. Like I said, 2 goals, it's okay. But other than that, really, really quite poor. So Fleetwood then have gone with Jaden Morris, a 19-year-old striker who's played 20 games this season, 10 of which have been starts. He has made quite a few first-team appearances and starting appearances for Fleetwood in League One this season. Definitely playing more of his football on this right-hand side. So that's really quite interesting to look at. 2 goals, 0 assists. Missed 1 big chance there as well, so he could possibly have 3. 0 assists for a player playing definitely on that right-hand side. Little bit of a concern there as well. I want to sort of have a really look at where he's playing in terms of the formation. Definitely playing on that right-hand side as that right winger. No assists there as well. 2 goals, like I said, but no assists in 10 starts and 20 appearances playing on that right-hand side. He got subbed off in that game as well. Not good at all. 6.3. Worst player on the pitch for Fleetwood. 1 big chance created, so that's okay, but still not brilliant. 0.5 key passes per game. He's averaging 66% pass accuracy. That's slightly better. Defensively, we can sort of ignore. Successful dribbles of 30%. That's not great. 30% isn't great at all. Duels, again, you can look at duels for a winger. It's not too necessary, but 32% of his duels won. So if you are looking at duels, it hasn't been great. More looking at those dribbles for a player playing on that right-hand side more often than not this season. 30%. That's a bit of a concern. Creativity, like I said, has also been something to look at. 0.5 key passes, only 1 big chance created, 0 assists. not great. Not great at all for a player, like I said, playing and starting in that game against MK Dons on that right-hand side, not being a player that, again, at 19 years of age, he's got a lot to learn. He's still a player that's coming through and definitely will develop, but so far this season hasn't had a season to write home about. Shayden Morris is the player I've highlighted. Is statistically Fleetwood's worst player so far this season. So Shrewsbury, quite a difficult one. I've gone with Joshua Daniels, but like I said, it was really quite difficult to find one. And if there's one to sort of ignore, if you like, it probably would be this one. So I do apologise, Shrewsbury fans. He only just meets the criteria. 11 total games played, 5 of them being starts, averaging 40 minutes a game across those 11 games that he has played. So he's played a decent amount of games. His last game against Plymouth, he did play a sort of like a left midfielder for Shrewsbury there. Like I said, the stats are quite bare. 0 goals he's had, 0 assists, 23 touches of the ball, no big chance created, no key passes so far this season. See there, defensively a little bit better. You can see they're sort of playing as that wing back, if you like. He is slightly doing a better job there. 1.2 clearances per game, possession 1 back of 0.1, 1.7 tackles per game, 0.5 interceptions per game. It's okay. Defensively, it is okay. 29% successful dribbles, little bit of a concern there, I'd say. 45% total duels. It's okay. It's fairly good. It's good compared to some of the other ones we've seen. But quite a difficult one to look at, Shrewsbury. No one's sort of standing out as a bad player, as their worst player so far this season. This lad, though, when he has played, he hasn't been brilliant. There's average ratings as well. 6.2 against Cheltenham, 6.3 against Plymouth in the last game, 6.65 altogether as average rating. It's not brilliant for Joshua Daniels of Shrewsbury Town. So for Lincoln City, then I've gone with Hakeeb Adelukan, a forward for Lincoln City. Inconsistency has been the biggest problem for him. 22 games he's played, but 10 of them have been starts. So yeah, slightly lower in terms of those starting games, but still 22 appearances. Again, that of course counts sub-appearances. 1 goal. It's okay, but again, for a forward, 1 goal, it could be much better than that. 3 big chances missed, so it could be much higher than that. So that's, again, a little bit of a concern. They could have 4 goals, instead he's only got 1. 2 assists, it's okay. You can see here, in his last game he started, he got a 7 out of 10 rating against Sunderland. He looked quite good. He got an assist in that one. Playing on the left-hand side in a front 3. Like I said, 2 assists in the game. 1 big chance created across the season. It's all right, but it could be much better. Again, we're talking about a player going that attacking area, talking about attacking third. 1 big chance created. That's not great at all. 0.8 key passes in the game as well. So again, that's not brilliant. Defensive stats, again, we completely skip out. But again, 34% total duel, 30% duels won, total duels won, 34% successful dribbles. Not brilliant, like I said, for a winger, someone that's creating chances, someone that's got to specialise for Lincoln City in being creative and being a creative outlet. Not really. You see that 1 big chance created across the season, 2 assists, 0.8 key passes. It's not brilliant. It's not brilliant for Hakeeb Adelukan. A forward for Lincoln City. That's who statistically have highlighted as their worst player so far this season. So for Cambridge United, I've gone with Jack Lancaster, a player that can play across the front 3, the left-hand side, the striker, and on that right-hand side as well. So very, very versatile in that attacking area. He can play and has played majority of his time on that right-hand side, looking at that heat map. Pretty inconsistent through the season. Like I said, only just hits the criteria. He's only played 12 games this season, 3 of which have been starts. So again, I do apologise, Cambridge United fans, but take it as a positive. I couldn't find someone that screams out as your worst player so far this season. Let me know who you think it is in the comments down below. 1 assist, 1 big chance created. So again, it's okay, but not brilliant. 0.3 key passes per game. Again, we look at that average minutes per game, about half an hour he's averaging per game as well. So again, he hasn't been given a lot of opportunities. 57% successful dribbles. Look at those last 12 months for the lad. 6.54 at League One average rating in 14 appearances. Again, the other stats, he played 1 appearance, 4 appearances in the other cup competitions. But those 14 appearances in the last year, 6.54. When he has played, he hasn't really set the world alight, an average rating of 6.52. Not a great player to highlight, to be honest, because he hasn't played a load of games, but certainly an average rating and a player that really hasn't had a brilliant start or 30 games of this season. So Cheltenham then have gone with Charlie Raglan. A little bit surprised at doing this, Rich. I thought he had a better season than he is, but there we go. Statistically, maybe he just isn't having the greatest of campaigns. Let me know, Cheltenham fans, in the comments down below. Someone that I know fairly well is Oxford United for a few years, quite a few years ago. He's got an average rating of 6.56. Not brilliant at all. Look at those average ratings for a defender. Not brilliant. He plays a right back. He was also a right centre back, I guess, as well. You can see there the heat map. Played a lot of his football sort of as a centre back and also on that right back as well spot. So he's definitely playing in the defensive third on that right-hand side. we look at the games he's played across the games. I mean, his last game against Fleetwood, he got a goal in there, so he had a much better. That definitely boosted that average rating. But if you take that away from it, which again you've got to definitely give the credit where it's due, he definitely did have a good game in that one and got a goal. But other than that, these average ratings are very, very quite poor. We look across the season, sub appearances when he has played 6.2, 6.3. It's not been brilliant. It really, really hasn't been brilliant. 16 total games he's played. 13 of them have been starts. When he has played, as you can imagine, been a defender. He's averaging 80 minutes per game. He's got a single goal. That was in the last game, like I said, against Fleetwood. Again, look at his passing stats. I think it's quite difficult to look at. He's created a big chance. I mean, that's only a positive. But again, I don't think we can look at those passing stats. I want to look at his defensive stats more than anything. He's kept 2 clean sheets in his 16 appearances. Again, that's not just down to him, of course. I think it's quite harsh. Clean sheet should be across the back line, so I don't think we can sort of count him accountable for too much of that. But 0.7 interceptions per game, it's not brilliant. 0.8 tackles per game, that's not brilliant either. Not even averaging 1 tackle per game across these games. That's not brilliant at all. 0.1 possession, 1 back. 0.3 dribbles per game. Again, I don't think we can take that into consideration too much. 2.5 clearances per game, it's slightly better. But that tackle of 0.8 tackles per game, not even averaging 1 tackle, that really is quite concerning. Dribble stats, again, that's definitely an anomaly. I don't think we can look at that too much. The duels, though, we can. 52% total duels. Pretty much 50-50, you're going to win a duel from Charlie Raglan. That's not ideal for a defender. Aerial duels, 54%, so slightly higher. But for 47 as ground duels won, it's not brilliant. For a defender, you need to be winning the majority of your duels. He really, really isn't doing that. Like I said, an average rating there of 6.56. Not very good for Charlie Raglan. Interestingly, though, like I said, statistically, I thought on paper, I thought he was having quite a good season. I'm very, very wrong. Let's have a look to see what you've got to say in the comments down below, Cheltenham fans. But Charlie Raglan, statistically, not having the best of seasons at all. So Charlton have gone with Pape Siore. Now, I might be completely wrong with the pronunciation of that name, but either way, he's the player I've highlighted as Charlton's worst player so far this season. 6.42 average rating. Very, very quite poor. He hasn't played since the 18th of December. No goals, no assists, no big chance created. Averaging about 70 minutes per game in the games he has been playing. Defensively, though, 0 clean sheets in the 9 games that he played. 1.4 interceptions per game, 0.9 tackles per game, 0.3 possession, 1 back per game, 1.7 clearances per game as well. Very, very average defending stats there as well. 33% dribbles as well. Duels, 43%. Again, not great at all. And again, look at that average rating, 6.42 in League One. I went with Pape Siore. I might have got the name wrong. I might have got the player wrong. Let me know in the comments down below. But he really, really hasn't been good when he's played this season. Again, Charlton fans, let me know in the comments down below. So that's Saturday then we've gone with Joel Bumbongo on loan from Burnley until the end of the season. He's a striker, and similar to the last one really, hasn't played a lot of games. 10 games played, 3 of which have been starts. So the stats a little bit bare in certain areas. But like I said, see it as a positive outcome, Sunny fans. I couldn't find someone who shouts out and screams as the worst player so far this season. But if I had to, Joel Bumbongo, he's been struggling to a certain extent. He has got 2 goals this season, 0.9 shots per game. So again, for a striker with limited opportunities, it hasn't been the end of the world. 0 assists, 0 big chances created. A little bit harsh to base it off that, but you'd like to see some sort of creativity from your centre forward. In terms of other areas as well, 67% total successful dribbles. In terms of duels, 35%. Not doing very well in terms of duels against defenders, you presume, as an attacker. The average rating's a little bit of a put-off, though, when you look at the last 12 months. 9 appearances in League One, 6.54. The Football League Trophy and the EFL Cup, we're not really solely basing on, but he hasn't had the best average ratings in those competitions either. Like I said, a little bit harsh to go with Joel Bumbongo, but like I said, see it as a positive. I couldn't find someone statistically who's had a worse season than him. But let me know, Study fans, in the comments down below, is there somebody else? So Burton, I've gone with Michael Manchin. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his second name. I could be wrong. If I am, I really do apologise. He's 34 years of age. He can play in midfield. He can play at centre-back. He can also play at right-back as well. Like I said, 34 years of age. A bit of a veteran option in midfield for Burton. And he has been struggling to a certain extent this season. An average rating of 6.69 isn't great. He's done a mixture of sub, bench, and then some substitute and also start appearance. A little bit all over the shop in terms of opportunities in that first team. He's played 13 games, 10 of which he started. So, to be fair, the games in which he has been involved, a lot of them have been starters. He's been involved in 62 minutes on average across the games that he's also played as well. No goals to his name. Again, you can see in the last game he played, he started against Bolton in their very, very good win against a side like Bolton, who are in really good form. He got a start in that opportunity, got a yellow card, and then got taken off. Didn't have the best of games in that one. I think other than Williams Kakulo. I'm pretty sure he was the second lowest average rating across that Burton squad. We look at these passing stats as well. For a midfielder, like I said, he is playing in midfield. He can play slightly deeper, but for a midfielder in this, in this case, 0 assists, 0 big chances created, 0.3 key passes per game as well. So his creativity and I guess his passing ability from the midfield hasn't been great. Not really shining in terms of those statistics. Defensively, a little bit better. You can see him definitely more as a defensive midfielder as he probably gets older. He probably is better in the defensive third. 1.3 interceptions per game, 1.2 tackles per game as well. Not great possession one back. Their dribble is not brilliant either, but his clearance of 1.8. It's okay, it's not brilliant, but it's fairly decent for a defensive midfielder. 33% successful dribbles, 53% total duels won, to just over half of those total duels won for defender / midfielder / defensive midfielder. It's okay, but it certainly could be better. We look at him in the last 12 months, 6.74 League One and 25 appearances. You're looking at the second half of the season last year as well. Over the past year, 6.74. It's not brilliant, is it? It's not brilliant. I think he might be tearing slowly to the end of his career. But either way, I've gone with, statistically, Michael Manchin as Burton's worst player so far this season. So Portsmouth then, statistically, and I'd probably say also surprisingly, Louis Thompson's the man that's been highlighted as the worst player of Portsmouth so far this season. He's made 18 appearances, 9 of which have been starts, averaging about 50 minutes per game. Of course, he's a midfielder, also playing a deeper midfield role as well. This one did surprise me a little bit. Again, at 27 years old, the peak of his career, like I said, I rated Louis Thompson. Now, apparently, statistically, he's not being backed up as one of the top tier players of Portsmouth this season, and actually been highlighted statistically as their worst player this season. You can see across these last games, 6.9 is a very, very the very average rating he's getting across those sort of games. 6.9, 6.7. He got a really good score, I'd say, against Burton at 7.2. But like I said, he hasn't been bad. I wouldn't say he's been bad. Like I said, as we sort of now climb into those top areas of the table, you're not looking at bad players looking that bad. You're looking at players that, compared to other players in their squad, are a little bit below par. I think Louis Thompson sort of fits into that bracket. Like I said, he's played games and he's been fairly average to good in a lot of these games. Now we can see here he's got no goals, no assists, 1 big chance created. So maybe in midfield you'd be hoping that he could get a little bit of a better creativity set of stats there. 73% pass accuracy, 82% accuracy in his own half, 64% in the opposition half, though maybe could be better there at accurate passing in the opposition area. We look at the defensive stats as well, 0.7 interceptions per game, 1.7 tackles per game as well. The rest of the other defensive stats being okay, but nothing more than I'd say okay. I think what we're seeing here is a set of stats that aren't bad, but they could be better, and there's no real standout wow stat, if you know what I'm trying to say. League One in the last 12 months, 26 appearances made, 6.68. So again, the average rating, it could be better. It really, really could be better. I think that's what that's the issue that Louis Thompson's got at the moment. There's no standout stat, and across the board, they're fairly average. So I've gone with Louis Thompson as Portsmouth's worst player statistically so far this season. So for Bolton then, we've gone with Kieran Sadler. 16 games played, 6 have been starts, and the average rating really has let this midfielder / I guess attacker down. You compare the right side, left side, and through the middle as well. 6.61 as an average rating really isn't that phenomenal. 1 goal, no assist. He's missed a big chance there as well. Not created a big chance at all this season. We look at key passes, 0.6 key passes. You expect a little bit better from a player in that attacking creativity third of the pitch. 68% pass accuracy. 54% of his opposition pass accuracy as well, so it's not brilliant. Successful dribbles at 36%, again, a little bit of a letdown there. And in terms of duels, a little bit harsh to look at a winger and a midfielder with duels, but you do have to look at it. 32% is not great either. 16 appearances in the last 12 months in League One. 6.61 has been his average rating. He made 5 appearances in the Championship last season as well. He got a really quite poor average rating of 6.42. A little bit harsh to base it off the Championship, but even this season in League One, he hasn't really set the world alight. You can see there across the board, the last 5 games, you can see highlighted there, 6.61, averaging 6.6, 6.9, 6.6, 6.6, 6.8. It's average, not brilliant. And like I said in those games as well, not a single goal or an assist for, like I said, an attacking player. You expect a little bit better from Kieran Sadler. That's the player statistically sees Bolton's worst player so far this season. So for Ipswich Town, we've gone with Kane Vincent Young. He's a right back that also can play left back as well. And also looking at that heat map, you can see playing as a more attacking player as well. Sort of now Kieran Agave has come in. He's gone with the three centre backs and the right midfielder and left midfielder. Vincent Young, when he's been called upon, has played in those areas as well. It doesn't really suit the three centre back formation. He can play in those wider areas as the wing backs / wide midfielder. The average rating of 6.49. It isn't great. It's not great at all. We look at the games he's played. 12 games he's played, 10 of which have been starts. So not amazing amount of opportunities, but he's been given games in League One this season. We come back to that average rating. It's very, very poor, and that's something that we're going to have to look at in just a second. Why is that? Because I think certain things can really affect average ratings. Sending offs, penalties against, errors leading to goals, all of those sort of things. Goal-wise, not expected to score goals, and he hasn't. Passing-wise, 3 assists. We look at those creativity stats. 3 assists, 1 big chance created, 1.2 key passes per game. Creativity and going forward, he really hasn't done a bad job this season. 74% accurate passes per game, 81 in his own half, 65% in the opposition half. So it could be slightly better there. But again, that's not awful. That's not awful. We've seen worse today, of course. Defensively, though, 0 clean sheets in the 12 games that he's been part of. That doesn't help him too much. Of course, if your defence is part of a clean sheet, your individual average rating does go up. So having none of those, little bit of a concern there. 0.8 interceptions per game, 1.7 tackles per game as well. So those defensive stats, they're not awful, but they could be better. Like I said, since he's been moving in those different positions, that does sort of change and hinder those stats to a certain extent. There though, 1 penalty is committed. That hasn't helped him. That hasn't helped him too much. That hasn't helped him in that. That does also definitely decrease your chance of a higher average rating if you've given away a penalty. We look at the other parts as well. 67% successful dribbles. Again, that probably wasn't as necessary when he was playing as the fullback in the back four. Now he's sort of playing as a wing back. That's right midfielder. That does come into fruition and is sort of a more significant stat to look out for. In terms of duels, 47% total duels won. So again, that could be higher for a player in that certain area of the pitch. And then the card situation, the disciplinary slight issue this season: 2 yellow cards, 1 straight red card, 1 yellow red card, 2 yellows and a red. So again, that hasn't helped him either. You can see there, 5.8, that was in September. That month was not a good month for him. That was probably the month where he got the red card and didn't play again through suspension. But you can see that an average rating of 6.65, 19 appearances in League One past 12 months. 6.62 has been the average rating. It hasn't been a great year for Kane Vincent Young, and he's certainly a player that Ipswich statistically has been highlighted as their worst player so far this season. So for Sheffield Wednesday, we've gone with Jaden Brown, a 23-year-old fullback, left back to be more specific. You can see the heat map there as well. He's played a lot of his football down that left-hand side. Look at the games he has played. 11 games he's played, 7 of which has been starts. The average rating of 6.4 hasn't really been the best of seasons for Jaden Brown of Sheffield Wednesday. Again, I'm not expecting him to score goals, but he hasn't done that. He hasn't scored a goal. We do expect him to take some chances down to XG, though. 2 big chances missed as well. So he has had chances and he has missed them. No assists, no big chances created either. Key pass per game, we're looking at 0.5. Not brilliant, but certainly not great. 60% accurate passes as well. 52% accurate passing in the opposition half. That's a concern. Every other pass he's taking, basically, is working or being, just giving away possession or giving the ball away. That's a concern. That's going to be something that Jaden Brown will have to look at, because you look at the average ratings. What do they get marked on? When it gets marked on these different pieces of criteria and the different stats in there, accurate passing is a big one. That's really letting him down so far this season. He's been part of 2 clean sheets in those 7 games that he started, but again, we look at those stats defensively. They're not unbelievable. 0.4 interceptions per game. He's averaging 1.1 tackles per game. Possession won back, 0.1% of the time. 0.1 dribbles per game as well. 0.3 clearances per game. And he's also given away 1 penalty as well. Defensively, it's not brilliant. It's not brilliant at all. He's given away he's been given 1 yellow card this season. 36% successful dribbles, 41% total duels. Again, we look at the fullback, look at the defensive areas. Total duels being 1 is very, very important. He's not winning those total duels. There's a real level of concern there. 17% aerial duels as well. Clearly a weakness in the air, and clearly not being very dominant in the air either. We look at the ground duels, 46% possession, 41% gives it that overall duel percentage. It's not brilliant. It's not brilliant for a fullback, not brilliant for a left back. And you can see there across those last 5 games, 5.8 against AFC Wimbledon. The last time he played was on the 22nd of January against Oxford. He got a 6 out of 10 rating in that game. Of course, did concede 3 goals in that game as well, which probably wouldn't have helped his cause. So for Oxford then, Marcus Mcguane, a little bit harsh, I won't lie. I was looking at the statistics, I was looking at it, and it's one of those where you're the fan of a club, you do think about it a little bit more, and I'm sure you'll be watching this right now, and I've already said your club's worst player, and you've thought, maybe he is, but we just don't see it. And I think with Marcus Mcguane, is statistically this season, it doesn't look great. And that's probably why the average rating is much lower. 6.66 is not a great average rating. He hasn't had a great game across the board in the games he's played. He's played 20 games, 9 of which have been starts. 0 goals, 1 assist, 1 big chance created. So 1 goal contribution for a midfielder in 20 games, it's not great. And I think that's one of the things when you're probably watching this, like I said already, and you're thinking, maybe he is. Maybe we just don't see it. With Marcus Mcguane, statistically, we have to stress statistically, he hasn't been great. He's got 1 assist in the game, but other than that, so quiet and not really influencing those games in the stats at all. And I think that's when you have to think, maybe he is, but maybe we just don't see it as much as, you would if you watch your team all the time. So when we look at the stats, Marcus Mcguane was a really interesting one. There was a few other candidates. Steve said in the last few games, and I'd say the last sort of 2 months or so has been really, really quite poor, I'd say. But he looks like a player that is almost being overplayed, I think, at points. And we haven't really gone over left back at the football club, so I think he's almost becoming a little bit drained. I think he's almost becoming a little bit tired, and I think he does need a bit of a freshen up. Hopefully today, as I'm recording this match day, and hopefully against Charlton, he does have a good game, because we need him to have a good game in that one. But yeah, there's a few options. But yeah, statistically, Marcus Mcguane hasn't had a great season. Like I said, 20 games played, 1 goal contribution, 1 big chance created, 0.5 key passes per game as well. Got a very, very good pass accuracy of 86%, 90% own half pass accuracy, and 80% opposition pass accuracy. So again, you can see, really quite good pass accuracy in that sense. Defensively, a little bit of an anomaly if you look at those sort of stats, but you can have a look at them. 0.6 tackles per game, they're not brilliant. Dribble-wise, 67% of successful dribbles as well. The duels in midfield, again, he hasn't been winning many of those duels either, so that's probably where it is a little bit harsh. He got injured between March and May, and since he's come back, he hasn't really set the world alight, Marcus Mcguane. He's come on, looked a little bit lively, but hasn't influenced games statistically in the best way he could. So Oxford United, a little bit harsh, but Marcus Mcguane's the player that we've highlighted there. So Plymouth then, we've gone with Niall Ennis. Now, see, this is a positive, Plymouth fans. There was no one that really shouted and screamed as your worst player so far this season. But he's played 10 games, 4 of which have been starts. I think it's one of those cases where he hasn't played a lot of games, and the games he has played, he hasn't been brilliant. I think that's just what it comes down to. He has scored 2 goals in 4 starts. Like I said, 10 appearances has been overall. He's averaging about 45 minutes per game. So again, he's averaging a half every time he does play. 2 assists in there as well. He's missed 2 big chances, though, so there's a bit of a concern there. 1 big chance he's created. We look at those other stats as well. Successful dribbles, 42% successful dribbles. It's not great for, again, a striker at 22 years of age. You can see his heat map there. More on that right side, actually, to be honest. Hasn't been really great when it comes to dribbling. In terms of his total duels, 133% total duels. Again, that's not great either. I think, again, it's a bit harsh. Look at his last 12 months, 24 League One appearances. You look at last season as well, 6.72. I know we're looking at just this season, but you can see for a long period of time, he's just been fairly average. Again, at 22 years of age, got a lot to learn, a lot still to get better at. But at the moment, he isn't setting the world alight. And for Plymouth, again, like I say it as a positive. Do really see this as a positive. There was no one who screamed and shouted statistically, your worst player. So I had to go with Niall Ennis there. So for Wycombe Warriors, then I've gone with Brandon Hanlan. And we're getting to a point now where as you get higher up the League One table, these players aren't actually bad players just compared to the other players in that squad. They're letting themselves down, just slightly below par in that sense. And we look at Brandon Hanlan, he hasn't had a bad season. The average rating, 6.67, could be much better. He's played 26 games, 21 of them have been started. He made 2 Team of the Week appearances down to SofaScore as well. 5 goals he scored in 21 games for a striker. Maybe hope for a little bit better. And then the issue comes with their 7 big chances missed. He's missing a few too many chances. He could have, he could have 12 goals this season. He doesn't. He's only got 5. And again, that comes down to, again, that's massively down to being much more clinical in front of goal. And that's probably, again, where the average rating is much lower. For 26 games, your striker, you want to be scoring more than 5 goals. And he's had opportunities to score more than 5 goals, but he's missed them. And again, that's an issue. He has had 2 big chances created. And he has got 3 assists in this through the season as well. Down to creativity, it's not awful. 70% accurate when it comes to his passing, 71% own half, 69% opposition half. Defensively, again, we don't need to look at that. In terms of duels won, and when I think Wycombe, I think players holding up the ball, very, very physical. again, it doesn't really shout and scream that. 36% total duels won, I think, for a Wycombe striker. I probably would expect a little bit more with that. 38% ground duels won, 27% aerial duels won. I expect a little bit higher, especially for a Wycombe side that like to use their physical strikers, like to use their physicality across the squad. I expect them to maybe have a better set of stats there. I've gone with Brown and Hanlon. Not an awful season, but statistically, a little bit below par, I'd say. So for Sunderland, we've gone with Dennis Kirkin. He's a left back, played a lot of his football, as you can see there on that season heat map, on that left-hand side. Average rating of 6.75. It's not horrific, and like I said, similar to Wycombe. Now, you do get higher up the league table. The average ratings, again, are slightly higher because they are having a better season, and they are in a good squad. We look at the games, played 23 games, played 20 of them have been starts. He certainly is getting opportunities in this Sunderland side. No goals, would you expect it? Probably not. 2 assists for a fullback. Again, that's an added bonus and doing well there. Big chance created at 1 as well, which is really, really quite good. 1 clean sheet, though. That's a slight issue. 1 clean sheet in 23 appearances. That says not just a lot about Dennis Kirkin, but about also across that whole Sunderland back line as well. Look at those more defensive stats, 0.9 interceptions per game, 1.9 tackles per game as well. So defensively, again, they're decent stats. They certainly could be better. 0.1 possession, 0.3 dribbles passed per game as well. So again, a little bit better there. 2.9 clearances per game, though. Again, it's okay. But again, for a fullback, you probably expect a little bit better in those defensive stats. Look at the other statistics. There's about 54% successful dribbles, 63% aerial duels, 63% total duels. Aerial duel wise, around 57%. You expect a little bit better in that duel department. Like I said, inconsistency has been a big problem. He's had a few good games, but some really quite disturbing games in terms of average ratings across the game. Not a bad set of games in that month. But again, you see inconsistency across the season. And also, the average ratings, it's not awful. 6.75. It's not a horrific average rating. But you've got to look at the other Sunderland players as well. They have got quite high average ratings. They're sat in they're sat in 4th in the league. They're going to have high average ratings. So Dennis Kirkin's the player we've gone with there. So Remco Donzen, I've gone with Hiram Boeteng. He's played 24 games this season. A lot of sub appearances, though. Only 8 of them being starts. He plays as a midfielder, more attacking midfielder as well. 3 goals, 3 assists, so 6 goal contributions is not bad at all. He has missed 1 big chance. He's created 1 big chance as well. So again, goal contribution-wise, it's not awful. And again, we look at those stats. It's not awful. Again, the average rating 6.64, a little bit of a letdown. Not great in terms of those average ratings. You can see there, when he has come on, he has made some impacts, but he could have made more of an impact. And also there's games where he comes on and doesn't do enough at all and really, really isn't impactful at all and does have a bad average rating. And that's definitely where those stats come from. We look at those passing stats, 80% accurate passes, 83% own half accurate passes, 74% opposition half accurate passes as well. Again, defensive stats, not really fair to look at. 75% successful dribbles. Again, dribble-wise, he's looking quite good. 32% total duels won, those a midfielder. He expects a little bit better. Like I said, he's not a bad player, and he hasn't had a bad season. But in compared to the other MK Dons players, he probably is down at the bottom of the pile in terms of statistic-wise. So, again, that's an interesting position to look at. Hiram Boeteng's the player I've gone with an MK Dons worst player statistically so far this season. So for Wigan then, we've gone with Gavin. Massey. He can play both sides of the flanks. He plays a left winger and a right winger, and you can see this season played a lot of his football prominently on that right hand side. Look at his last 5 games, the average ratings, they're not great. He's got 1 goal, 2 assists as well, so 3 goal contributions in 7 starts, but 23 games. A lot of them have been sub appearances. 35 minutes he's averaging across those games as well. 0.3 key passes, 72% accurate passes as well. The pass accuracy is okay, 60% opposition pass accuracy though. That could be slightly better, giving the ball away I think a little bit cheaply in the opposition half. We look at the other stats. 50% successful dribbles for a winger. It's a little bit better than that. It's not awful. We've seen worse, but every other dribble coming off as a winger, you're going to have quite a few dribbles in that game. 37% total duels. Well, like I said, a little bit harsh looking at wingers and looking at those duels. It's definitely a stat to look at. Like I said, 6.69 average rating over the past 12 months. This season, 6.54, so it has been worse. This is the worst start to a season he's had in a while. We look at the last 26 games in League One over the last 12 months, 6.63. Hasn't really set the world light since he's been playing League One football, especially this season. Hasn't been great at all. 6.54 average rating. I've gone with Gavin Massey, statistically Wigan's worst player so far this season. So finally then, the league leaders, Rotherham United. I've gone with Will Grigg. He's not quite on fire this season. Average rating of 6.66 is really quite poor. 19 games he's played this season, 13 of which have been starts, 2 goals in those 19 games, no assist. He's missed 5 big chances. Clinically, Will Grigg, again, not having a very good season. 5 big chances missed in those 19 games. He really has not been taking those chances. He has created 2 big chances for his other teammates. We look at those key passes, 0.5. You look at his accurate passes as well, 68% pass accuracy, 64% opposition pass accuracy as well. It's okay, but it really could be better. Defensively, a little bit of an anomaly to look at that. In terms of the other stats there, 50% successful dribbles, 33% those duels being won as well. For a striker, you expect to have a little bit better in terms of those keeping and holding up the ball, winning those duels against defenders. You expect that to be slightly higher, but it's those 5 big chances being missed for Will Grigg this season. Rotherham United, again, a striker who, again, just isn't having a great year. He really isn't having a great year. I feel bad for him because, again, he's been out on loan, a lot of clubs from Sunderland, and it's just not really working out. You hoped it would work for him at Rotherham this season, not quite working out. So for Rotherham, I've gone with Will Grigg. And that's all of the teams. That is every single team's worst play down to statistics this season so far. Remember, this is purely down to stats. You watch your team week in, week out. So let me know in the comments down below. I got this right. Have I got this wrong? Are they misleading? Are they getting it anywhere near right? Or are they completely off the wrong path? Let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't left a like, please do that now if you enjoyed this episode. Also subscribe as well. Like I said, we're on the road to 800 subscribers. The longer road to 1,000 subscribers as well. Please hit that subscribe button. It really would mean the world. Until next time, stay safe. And I'll see you all very soon. See you in a bit.